All right, so looking at what's on the horizon from a technology perspective, and we'll lob this question up to Tammy. So Tammy, as you're looking on the horizon and looking at technology that's not universally being adopted yet, but could be applied in the future to new builds, what gets you excited?
Yeah, the only other thing that I could really think of would be to incorporate maybe things like Amazon Alexa or Google Home, so that, when you're away, maybe you have a child or an older child at home and you're able to communicate with them while you're away. Obviously, sure, we can buy those, right? We can put them in our homes. But if you're hardwired for something like that and it's mobile optimized so that when I'm out of play, I can speak to my kids, or I maybe watch and see if my pet's okay, something like in-house monitoring, that would be something to consider too. And I think that that is absolutely where we'll probably be going with new builds.
Thoughts on that? I mean, I could definitely see some value there.
Yeah, it's interesting. We track, voice usage for home control and a bunch of other tasks. And certainly, roughly 40% of households now own a smart display or smart assistant. And there are probably about an equal share of smart home owners prefer a voice assistant as kind of their unified experience. So it's meaningful to a lot of people. It's not meaningful to everyone. So this is another part of the dilemma is everyone's not voice forward. And voice is, again, it gets more complicated because voice is great for some context. I think that's already been said this week. It's not great for all contexts. So it's a both and. But I think voice control is incredibly simple. It's incredibly DIY. It's very easy and cost efficient to pair some Echo Dots or Google Minis with some light bulbs and give some wow. Again, it's what's cost efficient economically to impress a potential tenant where they go, oh, well, that's different. That's nice, right? And so a simple voice assistant with some of those, we know that voice is it's already been said as well, primarily used for lighting and thermostats, right? That's what people love to use it for, and they're doing it constantly throughout the day. So, and then of course the entertainment function. I mean, we have a little Echo in our bathroom, so that I can listen to NPR in the morning when I'm shaving or whatever, and it's just a little mount that sits up off the deck, on the wall. It's very low cost, but it's like, give me the weather report, give me NPR, whatever. And it's very, and a lot of property owners and managers think, well, but that's tech that they'll just bring with them. Well, maybe so, but to provide it for them is a nice little amenity at a very low cost. I mean, so.
To add to that, I've seen several demos of voice combined with automated window coverings. Huge wow factor there. If you're gonna make the investment in the motorized blinds, voice enabling it, for another $29, it's
yeah, you walk into
really
a room
cool.
and you say, good morning, hey Google, good morning, and da-da-da, the sun comes in and it's
a lot of wow factor there.
Symphony music plays.
And even if you're assuming that the residents are going to bring their own devices, it feels to me, because I try to think how I use a lot of our Echoes in our house, and a lot of it has to do with the audio. Having an apartment that already has built-in Bluetooth speakers with microphones as well, that I can pair whatever device I bring, immediately adds some pretty significant value, because now I'm getting my music, my ambient music, able to communicate with other rooms in my apartment.
Yeah, based on our studies, 70% of residents are willing to pay an extra $100 monthly for any type of smart technology, any type. So it could just be an Amazon Echo Dot, or it could be a really awesome blind feature, right? But yeah, based on our studies,
that's a big number.
That's a big number. Yeah, it's they're willing to fork it over.
And the automated switches now. I mean, at Christmas time, I went to my Home Depot and found these tiny little plugs that are Wi-Fi enabled that can connect with my Echo. That we now use all over the house for different lights, because they can do the timing on them. Plus, I've got one hooked up to a dehumidifier in our bathroom that will literally say, Echo, turn on the humidifier for an hour, and the Echo will be great and turns it on, and then turns it off an hour later with that one simple voice command that has just a lot of application across a lot of devices. If you give them the pieces of the puzzle, they'll figure out what works for their use case, particularly if you can make it really simple for them.
Yeah, in fact, you could program that to come on at 7 a.m. every day when the showers are on.
Yep.
And you don't even have to ever touch it again. It just
True.
always does it without you thinking about it.
Yeah, and we have both set up. We have kind
Yeah.
of schedule, and then when, the teenagers decide to take a late night shower, you can at least just tell it, hey, turn on for a certain period of time.
And after 30 minutes, say, get out of the shower.
I need that.
And that's where I need to hook it to the lights, so that after half hour, the lights in the bathroom turn off and they gotta get out. Okay, so while we're talking about teenagers, the use case that we found is the garage door, is that we have a 16-year-old who's just started driving, and he always leaves the garage door open. So it is nice now to get the notification on my watch that the garage has been open for 10 minutes now, and I know Mark just left, and to be able to click a few buttons and close that garage. A lot of applications. Okay, so for the rest of you, looking at the technology horizon, what else is out there that gets you excited? Anything else that we haven't talked about yet that you wanted to cover? And then we'll talk a little bit more about the market bands and any other breakdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked a little bit about air quality, and I think that's the thing we're hearing a lot about now, and we're seeing.
Every time he says air quality, I'm going to look it up. I'll tell you what our numbers are in the room right now. Continue.
Okay, yeah, and so we're seeing indoor air quality sensors being put in lots of other devices now, which helps. But the big question is, how do you mitigate that, right? And so that's where some consumers get anxiety. I was telling Paul Williams about that after last night's presentation. I said, we find that some consumers get anxiety if you give them air quality data. They're like, this just makes me worry more, especially moms. Another thing I have to worry about. Right? And actually, women care more about air quality than men do, not surprisingly, but they're more attuned to it with their kids and care for their kids. But where, you can make a value promise to consumers, one, that we've already done things systemically, right, to improve indoor air quality, and here's a sensor that validates that constantly. That's a big payoff, right? Because you can make huge expenditures of ventilation systems and high-quality filtration systems and all of that, and they're like, well, how do I know it's working, right? But if you incorporate air quality, even if it's like building air quality in the app for the consumer, then there's that constant reminder of what we're doing for you. So I think that's really interesting, and I don't know anybody's doing that right now. So I think that's interesting on a building level, and then also if you could do it on a unit level, that's nice. Smoke, carbon monoxide, now carbon dioxide in some places. Where
Yep,
there's
765 parts per million in our room right now, which is good. It's good.
Yeah, we're not overly crowded, so.
Yes.
Yeah, when you get a lot of people together, then there's a lot of CO, or carbon dioxide.
And multifamily, that would be a concern. When you've got more and more people together, I think you're going to see more and more demographic that are going to be concerned if there isn't good circulation and fresh air being brought in, particularly if you're talking about a tower structure.
Yeah, exactly. Consumers are starting to understand particulates. They can't always explain all the different kinds of particulates that they are. But, in apartments you have cooking. I think we've talked about this already, right? Cooking, if there's natural gas in an apartment, in a natural gas, or heating system or hot water system, that's. So I think people they're much more conscious now of the healthy buildings, the health of the air they're breathing, and the allergens and all that kind of stuff. So the more that you can do to reassure them, either that it's already been handled systemically or you're doing something for them on a unit level, I think that's going to be more and more part of the conversation.
And 67 degrees, so yes, it is cold in here for those that were wondering. Other thoughts?
We've seen, there's an explosion now of residents who bring their electric vehicle to their apartment or condo, and so operators are planning for the future and certainly putting in those stations. On the connectivity side, though, what that means is that you've got to have connectivity in your parking garages. These vehicles need firmware upgrades at night, and so Wi-Fi in the parking garage, which is normally a very difficult place to put a wireless signal with all the concrete and steel. It's a big expense, right? But if you really want to wow and delight your residents and accommodate, the trends, what people are doing with their vehicles, you've got to do it. And for us, it's important because, we're in the entertainment communication portal business with our multifamily products, and it means we can push that messaging and that content all the way out to the parking garage. So as soon as people pull in, they're now, they're on the network. Their vehicles are enabled for whatever software download it may need that particular evening. And as well, they can access, the community channel, their content, as soon as they drive on the site. And that goes not just for parking garages, but hiking trails, all the outdoor amenity spaces that have become really popular in this space. People want connectivity out there as well. So it's an expense. It's doable, right? And people are doing it, but it's an expense for sure, especially on larger properties.
And so talking about managed Wi-Fi as a whole, I mean, I think we can all appreciate how Gen Z just has this expectation for good internet wherever they go. I mean, I don't know how your hotel Wi-Fi experience has been so far last night, but mine has not been fantastic in our hotel. That can be really frustrating, and particularly if I was living in that hotel, it would be unacceptable. And
It's a deal breaker.
It's a deal breaker for residents to have to not have decent Wi-Fi, especially in the room. But on the flip side of being able to move in and immediately have that because of managed Wi-Fi, not have to go through the setup process of having fantastic speeds, that's a pretty positive checkbox that is worth a lot of value and you can charge more for.
Yeah, I think if a potential tenant was comparing two relatively similar buildings, right, and one was a managed Wi-Fi network, that could very well be, the decision point right there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
And residents talk, right? I mean, word's out on social media of, where the 5-star experience is and where the 2.5-star experience is. So, word gets out quick.
Yeah.
Right.
And we'll talk a little bit this afternoon during the lunch session about the shared spaces, but having that managed Wi-Fi experience extend, just delivers a lot of value, particularly as more and more people are working from home, expect to be able to sit by the pool and to still have good Wi-Fi.